Today I want to talk about probably one of my very favorite ways, if not my very favorite ways to fish. On this channel, you'll see a variety of different types of fishing for different types of fish. I like to fish, and I don't like to limit myself to one specific species or one specific type of fish or one specific type of gear or anything of that sort. I enjoy the wide spectrum. Okay? But if it came right down to it, and I could only fish one type of fishing for the rest of my life, it would be ultralight, or what a lot of people call pan fishing or panfish fishing. And what it is you're fishing for the little bitty, up north they call them brim or bream. Down south, almost everything's a perch. Although there aren't a lot of perch where I'm at, if any, unless they're in somebody's pond or something like that. This river doesn't hold any as far as I'm aware. But I'm talking about things like bluegill, red ear or shellcracker, red-breasted sunfish, green sunfish, pumpkin seed. There's a huge variety of these fish. All of them are very beautiful, and most of them, if you use the right kind of gear, put up one heck of a fight. And so, pound for pound, I think, they're probably the meanest little boogers in the river. Hey. And I have a high regard for them and love them very much. And I want to talk to you about ultralight fishing, because ultralight fishing is something anybody can do. They're prolific. There's a bunch of them. Okay, they will live almost anywhere. And if you just want to go out and enjoy a day of fishing, I'm not talking about getting caught up in the minutiae of what lure to fish on this rod or that rod or yada yada yada. I'm talking about just going out and just having a blast fishing. This is the best time I think a person could have. So when we're talking about ultralight fishing, what we're talking about is we're talking about throwing lures, or sometimes you would use like live bait. I use night crawlers a lot because they will slam those worms, and it's just a slugfest. It's really fun. But what we're talking about when we talk about lures, this is an ultralight rated rod. This is a 5/6. Now you can get ultralight rods ranging from like 4'6" or 4'8" all the way to probably 9 feet. I like 5'6". I think once you get too much longer than about 6 feet, it doesn't matter what the rating on the rod is as far as action goes. They get whippy and noodly unless you get a company that makes like a really stiff stick. And I want quite a bit of bend in that rod for these panfish, because in my opinion it's a better fight. So an ultralight rod, now you can spend as much or as little as you want on an ultralight rod, anywhere from 20 bucks all the way up to $200 or $300. You don't need a great deal of sensitivity with the rod, because when those fellas hit, they're gonna hit it. The lures that I throw, I'm gonna throw it out and let it fall. And maybe if they don't hit it on the fall, which usually they will, they'll grab that lure and they'll pull it on out. You'll see your line move out, and that booger's got it. Okay, and if not, I'll twitch it a little and scoot it along the bottom a little, and sooner or later, if they're out there, they're going to hit that. And so you don't need an expensive rod. What I would tell you is a A well-made fishing rod, doesn't matter what it is you're fishing for, is a joy to use. So an ultralight rated rod, the rod is going to be rated for lures between like a 1/32 of an ounce to 1/4 of an ounce. But for me, most of the time, I'm going to be throwing 1/64, 1/32, 1/24, 1/16 sometimes of an ounce. I will probably never throw an 1/8 ounce lure or a 1/4 ounce lure on an ultralight rod. It kind of defeats the purpose. The rods are very light. They're going to throw light stuff. The light lures act more natural. They fall at a natural rate. It's just, when you downsize a lot of times with, even if you're talking about other species of fish, because bass will hit ultralight lures. Catfish will hit them. Trout will hit them. Almost anything in the water will hit them, given the right circumstances. And a lot of times, if you're having trouble catching fish, if you downsize your rig, or downsize your lure rather, your presentation, you'll end up catching fish. The reason for that, in big part, is because that lighter lure falls at a more natural pace, and it's something that it's hard for the fish to resist. So, ultralight rod, whatever length you like. If you don't have a whole lot of money, go down to Walmart and pick up like a 5-foot Shakespeare Micro Series ultralight rod, or even their 5-foot or 5'6" light Micro Series rod. Okay, pair it with, this reel has a 1000 or a size 10 reel. You can use whatever you want reel wise, but in my opinion, it's a really good thing to balance the rod and the reel together so that the gear handles better. Okay, but I've got an ultralight rod, a 1000 series reel. As for line, I use monofilament. Now you can use braid and fluorocarbon or whatever it is that you want. A lot of people do. But in my opinion, I've not found any need for anything other than monofilament for these small fish. And I use 2-pound test. Other people use 4-pound and 6-pound. Some people even will push it up to 8-pound. But in my opinion, the rod, the lightness of the rod, the lightness of the lures, the small size of the reel, benefits if you can use the lightest line you possibly can. So my recommendation would be an ultralight rod in whatever length you want. I like 5'6". A 1000 or 500 series reel, and 2 to 4 pound test. And this kind of setup can be absolutely addictive. So what are we throwing? Well, the lures that we throw are the reason that we have the rods that we're using, and the line and the reel that we're using. And so we're going to go up here to, this is like, there's like a little picnic table area up here above me, and I'm going to lay out the lures and we're going to talk about them. And if we have time after that, we're going to try to do a little bit of fishing. Okay, what I'm actually trying to do here is I'm trying to build a small kit that you can shove in a pocket so that you don't have to carry a bunch of stuff. You can take your rod and this kit and fish for panfish very simply and very easily and very inexpensively. Now the box that I'm using, this is a Plano 3500 size, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure it says it on The back, yeah, 3,500. This is an older one. The newer ones have nice latches on them, stuff like that. I had this laying around from the 90s or some such, late 80s, early 90s, and wasn't using it for anything, just well, using. So what I have in this box already are a couple of different things. The first thing that you'll see is I have these they're little crick hopper type lures. These are Ozark Trail. They work really well for me, so I use them. They're cheap. They're like $2, something like that, or $2.19 or something. And I have a couple of them in here. These are fantastic on top of the water for panfish and bass, and pretty much anything else that'll hit a top water. Okay? And I have a couple of them because I might lose one. The other thing that I have, these are 1/16 ounce rooster tails. Now these are, I call them a rooster tail. They're an inline spinner. Everything that's like this I call a rooster tail, just for future information. Okay. These are 1/16 ounce. They're a little bit bigger than what I'm going to be throwing regularly, but sometimes they want a little bit bigger lure. These are fantastic for any kind of fishing. There's nothing that won't hit this kind of lure. Nothing. Okay. But I also have, this is like a little minnow. This is also an Ozark Trail lure, but Rapala makes one, Rebel makes one, fairly small. Creme makes one. Just Leland Lures makes one. I have one because I lost the other, but it's basically a little tiny jerk bait. Now, when you start looking at the size of these lures, you'll understand why you use an ultralight rod and light line, because they won't operate properly on heavy line. I know a lot of people that swear up and down these things don't work. Oh, Ozark Trail, it's a piece of junk. No, you got like 30-pound braid on your ultralight reel, and you're trying to throw something like this, or you've got a medium light or a medium action, fast action rod with a really stiff tip. You're trying to fish this. It's overkill for these lures. My humble opinion, say what you want, yada yada yada, do what you want. But that's what this video is about, is to show you what I do and how I approach ultralight fishing. So we're going to actually put that right there for now. The main lures that I use for ultralight fishing go on one of these. This is a 1/32 ounce ball head jig. Now these are eagle claws. I also use eagle claws that are painted. The head is just a little bit bigger in size, but not in weight. They work just fine. What I would tell you is don't worry about the color of the jig head. It don't make a dime's worth of difference. Don't care what anybody says. Okay, I got these because I'd never seen them in Walmart before, and the heads are tinier. And the smaller I can go, the better off I feel about it. And yes, everything in this kit you can get at least at my local Walmart. I don't know about yours, but if your Walmart carries fishing gear, they probably carry this stuff. So what I'm going to do, I got 2 packs of these. Stand by. Come here, you. These are going to go Both of these packs are going to go right here. Don't forget to pick up your trash. Don't leave trash anywhere. Be respectful of the places that you fish. And don't leave trash laying around. So what are the lures that we're going to throw? Well, what I throw most of the time, this is made by Creme. It's called True Lure. This is kind of like a bass assassin, Bobby Garland style type of lure. It is just a little bitty, kind of a little bitty swim jig sort of deal. And what I do, a lot of people will put them in the in little compartments. They'll take them out of here. What I do is put them in, leave them in this container because they won't dry out. And just put them where I can see them, okay? There are only a couple of colors, 2 or 3 colors that you really need. I like some kind of green or green and black. I like some type of white. Now this is a different style of lure. This is a curl tail grub. And it's a little like, oh, I don't know, these are 1 inch, maybe. These are small lures. Okay, so something like that, all right? White, if I could only have one color, I would pick white. Why would I pick white? Because white will imitate almost any kind of bait fish that's in the water. It doesn't matter where you're at. It also would imitate little grubs and stuff like that come out of rotted trees and stuff when it rains. All of that kind of stuff gets washed into the water. The fish are used to eating that. They're used to seeing that white. It's a basic color in the water. So if I could only have one, it would be white. One color, white, absolutely. Okay? But I also have a couple of these little swim tail things in this. This is, I don't know what color you would call this, but it's like a bluish, translucent and white flake kind of deal. These work just as well white-wise, you know, for this type of color. In my opinion, I don't see a dime's worth of difference between the two. But these are just another kind of bass assassin or panfish assassin lure. But look at the size of them. They're tiny. Okay? That's what you want. You don't want the fish to have a hard time, these little small panfish to have a hard time getting that lure in their mouth. So that's, for me, right there, I don't need any more than that when it comes to these kind of lures, and I have extra. So what I'm going to do is that right there. So that, I think these are like 8 of them in a pack. Yeah, 8 pack. Okay. This is called a crappie shad. These are called a swirl-tail grub. Now these cost like 98 cents for a pack of 8 at Walmart. There's a little bin down on the bottom shelf that has these sitting up like that, just smack full. So I got $6 in lures here. Woohoo! Big spender. Okay? You don't need anything else. It's not necessary. You can, there's all kinds. There are other manufacturers that make lures like this. Bobby Garland's been mentioned, and that don't want to sit up, but that's all right because once I close the lid on it, it won't make a dime's worth of difference. Okay, but for me, this works just fine. And then another thing that I found that I want to try is these are 1/24 ounce rooster tails, really tiny rooster tails. And so I'm gonna use this as well. I want to put these in here. Now if I wanted to, what I could do, let me put this, is in here in this space, if I wanted to, I could put like hooks and sinkers and a bobber or two, and that way if I wanted to worm fish or something like that, or use live minnows, I'd have hooks and sinkers and stuff like that, bobbers and all. If you use a bobber, I don't use a bobber, but I mean, I could do that if I wanted to, but quite honestly, if I am going to worm fish, I'm going to bring a cooler to keep my worms fresh, and so I'm going to pack it in. But I mean, this would make a really nice kit, and you could just stick that in like I use cargo pants all the time. Stick that in there and go to town, go fishing. Now, I want to talk to you about how to rig these. Everybody's got their own way. This is my way. Let me take one of these out. If you take your jig head, you're going to take the lure, you're going to push it up there where this joint is, so that you get this little keeper is embedded in it. And if you look at the lure and the jig head, I don't know if I can hold this. That'll show you where the hook is, and that's where it's going to come out. So what I will do is I'll take this, I'll look at it again really good. They can be a little bit finicky on how they go on a hook. So there they are. Now a lot of people hook them like that. You see how you've got this hump in the body, but you see there's not a whole lot of room for that hook. So what I like to do instead, I don't think there's a wrong way, is turn it like this, where that flat part of the body is going to be where the hook comes out. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but I'll show you what I mean. In my opinion, there's a little bit more room for that hook. Now what you can do is you can take a pair of pliers and kind of bend that out just a little bit. You don't need to bend it much, but just enough to give it a little bit more room for the fish to get that hook in his mouth. And that's a tiny little morsel that they're gonna love. So there's one other thing that I would carry with me. I'm gonna put this here and close this up and show you something else. There's one other thing that I would carry with me if I was doing this type of fishing. You can spend as little as $8 and as much as $20 or $30 on it, depending on the size of it. This is a trout magnet kit. This is even smaller than this. I had to put the rubber band on it because the plastic this is made of warped and it doesn't like to stay closed anymore unless you do that. But what it is, it's just a very, very tiny, if I can get it to open. There's that black and green again. But just a they're very, very tiny. See how very tiny that lure is? Look here. Okay? And the reason I would carry it in a separate kit is because they come in a kit. And this is just really small. You can put this in a shirt pocket or almost anywhere. And the jig heads for these are typically 1/64th ounce or even 120 something, 24th something, somewhere in that range. But these right here are killer on little panfish, they're killer on trout. Almost anything will hit these too, because it's a really, really tiny offering, just like these, and it's floating down, it's just drifting down in the water column like something that fell in the water, and fish have a hard time resisting these. So I would carry this and then this. If they're not hitting this, I would move to this, see if they'll hit it. So, but they're just, that's all you really need. Like I said, you can get a lot more stuff for, they make tiny little crankbaits and all kind of stuff for panfish. But this small little kit, I could fish a long time with that right there. Catch a lot of fish with it. This is pretty much all I use for panfish unless I'm fishing live bait. It's all that I need. I might have a few different colors. I've got in my tackle bag, I've got a set of stuff like this too that has 7 or 8 different colors and types of these little boogers, but you don't really need it. I use the white more than I use anything else. And next up would be this green. So, all right, let's see if we can get out on the water. Ha ha ha. Had a little hit. I saw that one hit. They're fairly small. This is a 1/24 ounce lure though, so they might. Yeah. A little bit bigger. I like the single hook ones. They don't hang up as much. But I mean, very fun. And a lot of times what they're doing is they're hitting that thing when I let it drop. I'm throwing it out there and I'm retrieving it at a moderate rate. And then I'm gonna let it stop, and right there, he just had a heck of a hit. He missed, but yeah, nice hit. All right, we're going to throw out that way a bit, and we're going to switch lures again. Nice. See, these are this lure is picking up the really small ones, which is fine. Because I suspect this is pretty much what's in this area. You didn't see him, I don't think, but he was a dink. Yeah, little bitty dinks rolling in after it, because that's what's here. Oh yeah, that's nice. There we go, we got some drag happening now. It's not big by any means, but it was bigger. It's bigger than what I've been getting. Yeah, that's respectable for a little panfish. And he got off the line again. I don't know if you saw him or not. A nice hit there. Yeah. Oh man. I don't know if I can make that cast again. That was nice. All right, I've got one of the little white curl-tail grubs on. I'm gonna throw it out here and let it set. See what that does. If that doesn't do anything, then we will proceed to something else. Have fish on. Didn't even feel him hit it. That's nice. No, you're not going over there. That's not happening, big boy. He tried to hang me up on that log. Nice, that's what I'm talking about. Right blooming there. These boys right here. Be still. Beautiful. All right, now we're going to throw the little cricket lure and see if we get anything from that. I had one follow it in. I had a fish, and I missed him. Dang it. I shook him, he shook me. Yep, just in time. Hello there. Nice fat, what are you? Bluegill. You're all right. I ain't gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna let you go, big boy. Slamming. Well, as you can see, pretty much everything in that little kit will catch fish. I think everything that I threw, I caught at least one fish on. It's a really fun way to spend an evening, and I would encourage you to give it a shot. Ultralight, slamming good.